Can we talk for a minute about our Integrating Heart and Mind workshop?
Absolutely. I'm excited. It's coming up in the fall of 2024.
I'm so excited. We changed the format to make it more accessible to people with like work schedules and personal schedules. And so this time we're going to do it 3 hours on a Friday afternoon or evening, depending on where you're at, and 5 hours on Saturday for 2 different weeks in September.
Yeah, it's so great. Like if you're finding yourself stuck in like sticky bad patterns or having communication issues or something like that, or if you want to just like get closer and trust yourself or your partner more, this is the workshop for you.
Yeah, and individuals are welcome, couples are welcome. If you're interested in really thinking through how to serve yourself well inside of your relationships, then we've built a workshop that will support you in finding the ways that are just right for you.
To sign up, head over to our website at whydoesmypartner.com/events.
We hope you'll join us. Welcome to the Why Doesn't My Partner podcast. I'm Jules.
I'm Vicky.
And I'm Rebecca. We're your hosts. We're also couples therapists and messy humans bumbling through our own relationships every day.
We met through our training and practice of relational life therapy. Between us, we have more than 40 years of experience holding hard relational questions with our clients. We're going to bring those questions here.
And together, we're going to take a stab at answering those questions. This podcast is not a substitute for therapy. If something you hear in this episode stirs something deep within you about your relationship, reach out to a couples therapist in your area.
We'd also love to hear your questions, so don't forget to go over to whydoesmypartner.com and leave us a question of your own. Here's today's question. Today's question is, why does my partner shut down during an argument?
We are in episode 2 of the Shutdown series. One of my favorites.
Shutting down?
Well, I do it a lot.
I was going to say everything is your favorite, though.
No, this is true. How can I have 50,000 favorites? No, I mean, why do we shut down during an argument? Right? Well, I think the most basic, like, surface reason is I would like to stop fighting with you now, and so I'm no longer going to contribute to this. I think that's like the basic surface level of it. Why is my partner
there's
shutting
another
down during
one.
an argument?
So do I.
Oh, no, totally. I do too.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, on the surface of it, there is an attempt to stop this conversation.
Yeah.
Because it is going badly, and I don't want to keep doing this and hurt you and keep getting hurt.
Yeah.
And please stop it.
I can't do this anymore.
It's like a wordless stop it.
See, I want to say maybe.
Well, of course it's a maybe.
Well, but
Everything's a maybe.
Here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
I think
hit me.
if we look at this like you have a pursuer and you have an avoider kind of scenario in a relationship, which one is the one that's shutting down?
Well, it's not the pursuer right here.
Say more.
I'm not shutting down. I am like going after you.
Right.
So I'm not shut down
But
yet.
so then if
good point, because my brain freezes.
At some point, right? But like if the avoider is shutting down and it's provocative for the pursuer,
Well, it's still, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, if you look at me and Gabe, there really is this little girl. I want you guys to picture this. You guys are going to picture it because I'm going to do it in front of you. But to our listeners, I want you to picture this. I want you to picture a child anywhere from age 5 to 12. I figured this out. And she's like banging on a door. And it's either listen to me or let me in. That's me.
You're a pursuer. All the way.
Totally.
You're going to chase him.
I'm going to chase him.
And now I'm picturing Gabe as a 12-year-old or younger boy with his fingers in his ears on the other side going, la, 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 I cannot hear you. La, 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 I cannot hear you. And I don't think he's doing it because he wants you to chase him. I think he's doing that because he wants to stop this.
That's exactly why he's
I'm
doing
not
it.
saying everybody does.
Correct.
Because I'm with you, Rebecca, on this.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people shut down as a way of retaliating or a way of provoking a chase. So I don't know why your partner is shutting down. It could be to stop things, or it could be to retaliate against you because they know it drives you crazy and now they're mad, but they're going to do it passive aggressively by shutting down. Or they're doing it to provoke a chase. So I know plenty of people. I'm thinking of former clients who might run to a pantry or run to a closet and shut the door and like scream cry inside of there. And what they are hoping for more than anything in the world is for their partner to chase them into that closet and rescue them out of that space.
Oh, yes. One, I see that couple. And two, he's totally supposed to come after me. I don't do that. I don't run into a corner. But when I'm banging on the door, he's supposed to not even just open the door to let me in. He's supposed to like run to the door. I mean, it's a little much what's on the other side of the door. I wouldn't run to that door either. But that is what I'm wishing for. I wouldn't run to a door when there's somebody on the other side banging. Poor guy. I have some sympathy for him. But that's what I want him to do is run to the door and open it of like, what do you need? But that's a little much to ask in the moment. I get it. That's interesting, though. The pursuer wanting to be pursued, too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, or the shutter down wanting to be pursued. Sometimes that happens.
Oh, yes.
The one who is shutting down sometimes wants to be chased. The one who's shutting down sometimes is doing to get back at you. And the one who's shutting down sometimes is doing it because they're totally overwhelmed and frozen. And the one who's shutting down is actually doing it very consciously because they want to stop this fight.
Exactly. All of those. All four.
That was a lot.
And
I'd have to hit
all
rewind
of
and
them
listen
at
to this like 3 times.
Right. But
it's all true.
It's all of it.
Yeah. Oh, it really is. Wow. So many different reasons, basically.
So here's a question. No, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say it brings it home how important it is to get to know ourselves and our partners, right? Like to live in that space of being able to observe, not why does everybody do this or what are all the possible ways, but what do we do?
Yeah.
What's our dance? What's the thing that what do we both tend towards? Like this is the more the more.
This is totally the more the more. We've never told anybody about the more the more. I don't think we've brought that into our podcast. We should.
We haven't yet. Yeah.
So the more lives in almost every couple therapy that exists out there, actually. So basically, the more you do X, the more I do Y, the more I do Y, the more you do X. So for my husband and I, who both tend to be on the shutdown side of things, he's a little bit more of the frozen wants to end the argument part, and I'm a little bit more on the frozen retaliatory part, right? So I do freeze. Absolutely. My mind will go blank. Absolutely. But I might stay there longer as a way to punish. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I'm terrible. Anyway, and then he might
I just want to correct you
shutdown,
there
but it's
for a
more
minute.
to like, yeah, what?
Well, I'm struggling with the I am terrible part. And I really want to say, like, maybe it's the behavior, but it's not you.
Totally, I'm with
Good
you
catch.
100%.
Yes.
I'm with you 100%.
Sorry, I got lost there. I kind of froze there and I was like, wait, hold on. I'm not going to be able to move through this conversation if I don't say something.
I am taking that in, and I actually do not think I'm a terrible human, but I do want to live in a world where I say what I mean instead of acting out what I mean. And so I will apologize for the terrible behavior.
Oh, and I really felt a need to say that also for our listeners, because I want everybody who's listening here to get that we all have these moments where we say things like, I'm a terrible fill in the blank, or and the truth is that none of us are terrible.
Right.
Totally.
Or I hate this about myself.
Yeah.
That was me on Monday.
Yeah. Like we might have a moment.
Yeah.
So watch this for self-compassion. So here we go. So of course, I learned to show people what I'm feeling instead of saying what I'm feeling. To be direct in my house growing up was to be met with rejection and punishment overtly. I did not grow up in a world where people speak their minds about what's happening for them or what maybe hurt them. That would not be met well. It would be met really poorly. And so I have a ton of compassion for why I might because retaliation, what is it really? So I'm trying to communicate that I'm hurt without the words I'm hurt.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm going to communicate that by getting you to hurt, right?
It's attacking
Mhm.
from the victim position.
Right, exactly. And so I have a ton of compassion for why I might do that, and a ton of compassion for my husband for how that behavior lands on him, and maybe wouldn't end up in a space where that's a super constructive evening. Right? Or a super close feeling evening. So 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 if he goes into like I love what you're talking about, the more the more. Okay, so here's our the more the more. The more in a stress state, he freezes and shuts down. The more I freeze and shut down, the more he moves away from the conversation, the more I move away from the conversation. So that's the more with two shutdowns. So the more he shuts down, the more I shut down, the more I shut down, the more he shuts down, which is different, Vicky, than what you're describing with your marriage. The more she pursues, the more he shuts down, the more he shuts down, the more she pursues. So that's a more than more,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And in my marriage, right? Like these are just all different examples, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
The more he shuts down, the more I try to fix. The more I try to fix, the more he shuts down.
Sometimes I get into that one too. That's a good one.
Mhm. I call this the slinky with my clients. And I tell my clients, like, picture Slinky going downstairs because it's the same cycle over and over again, even though it's still moving forward.
Huh.
And then I tell them my goal is to cut the Slinky. And I do like an image with scissors where you're cutting the Slinky. Like, that's what we're trying to do is cut your pattern because this is your pattern.
Because you can get into a really cool the more. The more I directly request what I want, the more you risk showing up and giving me what I want. The more you say how that landed for you, the more I feel safe in telling you more about what makes me happy. The more you feel appreciated. And now we're in a good dance. Because you can have the more go really well.
And your whole
love that.
voice changed as you did it.
Did I really?
Yes, it's a much more happy, playful, jovial tone.
Relational joy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's
Yeah.
relational joy. It's because
Yeah.
like our relationship is feeding us that spark, that joy. Like there's something that starts to just then, oh, yeah, this feels good. Like I can surf on this. We can do this. And then we can also do hard things because we now have this abundance that has been building up of what has felt okay and enough about us.
Yeah, I love this. And then you get into the I can do hard things here, and then we can end up with a really cool the more. The more I bring up what's hard for me, the more you listen, the more I want to listen to you, the more you can bring up what's hard for you. And now we're getting through our sticky stuff well too. So
Right.
the more is not inherently bad. The more is relational living. Like,
Yes.
you're
Yes.
always going to have the more. It's the which more the more do you
I was
want?
just going to say that. Yeah. Which way do you want to be going?
You know, something that I've been talking about, I've heard myself talking about with so many of my couples in the past few weeks is that part of getting out of the sticky part of the cycle and into the relational joy part of the cycle has a lot to do with being able to observe when something doesn't feel good and speak into it. So often what we're doing, right? The reason we shut down in an argument is because an argument doesn't feel good. So what do? We want to avoid discord.
Yeah.
What's the easiest way to avoid discord? Shut down. Right?
Not talk.
Yeah.
Not
Say
talk.
less.
Yeah. I was going to say, avoid it.
Right.
To be really redundant. Yeah.
And so one of the things that I am like really working on with a lot of my people right now and working on in my own marriage is when something doesn't feel good, just say it. This doesn't feel good to me right here. What can we do differently? Like,
Yeah,
don't
and the more you show
overcomplicate
up,
it. Yeah.
Yeah, the more you get known.
Yeah. And the more you get known, right?
The more you show up.
Well, yeah. Right. But the
Yes.
more you get known, the more your partner knows, like, oh, now I know how to respond to you. Now I know how to meet that need. Oh, okay. Right. And it like, it starts to escalate, but in a really healthy, like, let's not call it healthy.
Totally.
Escalate in a really
Integrated way. In a
integrative
way
way.
Integrated.
Yeah.
It starts to improve. Like
Yeah.
escalate,
Yeah.
I would say improve and grow.
I think we want to feel better. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so, of course, this means it's time to invite a meta conversation. If you have never tracked the more with your partner, you guys could do that together. And if my partner tells me I shut down and it feels like I'm punishing him, it would behoove me to listen to what he is saying. These are hard conversations. So when you do the more, just know it's tender. Be gentle with each other if you decide to do this. Make sure you both are on board with doing this rather than one person dragging the other one to the table, because that's probably going to go bad. But if you're both on board with it, you guys could track the more together, and then we could come up with our own creative solutions of like, oh my gosh, what could we do that would, like Vicky's talking about, use those scissors and interrupt this dance so that we can move into a different the more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, I want to just put in another plug here for something we've talked about quite a bit. And that's the planting seeds idea that I keep bringing to these conversations. Because when you're going to have this meta conversation, plant seeds for it ahead of time. Maybe even share this episode with your partner ahead of time.
But you could write a little post-it. After you listen to this, tell me if you would like to have this kind of conversation someday.
Or
Not
let's even plant another seed. Hey, there's this podcast episode I'd like to listen to with you. Would you listen to it with me?
But you know what? I gotta put in a plug for agenda free on this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So when I invite my partner to listen to something, like I saw a thing on Netflix the other night, I was like, oh, I really want to do this with Adam. And I invite him to listen to it with me at some point soon. Right? And I said that it's totally cool with me if he doesn't want to do it. It was just an idea.
Can I introduce our listeners to invitation versus request? Since we usually have done request versus demand.
Oh, yeah.
Invitation versus request. So this was big for me because if you think of a party invitation, this is not it. I'm going to change your whole viewpoint of request and invitation because I want you to think of party invitations as party requests. A request you're doing as a favor to me. An invitation is all about you. I have no tie to what you're going to say or do, such as you're watching a pre-recorded webinar at home and the person running it says, I invite you to do some deep breathing right now. That person has no idea if you're doing it or not. That's an invitation. An invitation is all about you. A request is all about me. I'm asking you to do this as a favor to me. And they're allowed to say no. But if I'm inviting you to do something, you could say, or like you're saying with Adam, I invite you to watch this with me. And if he says no, you're like, okay, no, skin off my back. That's an invitation. That's a clean invitation. But again, like party invitations, I actually care if people come to my party. So that word was really confusing to me at the training because I was like, well, no, an invitation, I do care. But this is a different definition. That's why I'm putting it out there.
This is more like, hey, I thought this might be delightful. Would you think that?
I love the tone of your voice.
I love to use that, especially sexually. I think this would be delightful.
Well,
Do you think so too?
So maybe for some couples out there,
saying that.
Maybe asking, "Would you listen to this episode with me?" might actually be a request on your conditions. Right?
Yes.
And so
And
to
for some
acknowledge
others,
that,
it might be an invitation.
Yes.
Yeah.
If we're defining it this way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So it could be like, there's just this thing I think maybe we'd both enjoy. And it could also be, there's this thing I'd really like for you to listen to.
Yes.
It would mean a lot for me.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
just
to be
be
clean
aware
about how you're doing it.
Yeah.
Just be aware
to
of where you're coming
be
from.
Leaning in one direction as a manipulative kind of way.
Yes.
Ooh. Okay, let's imagine somebody out here listening is going, my partner is never going to listen to this episode with me.
Oh,
You can
that's
still work with the more.
yes, because my husband would
Okay,
never
here's
listen.
how. Here's how. You could track your own version of the more, and then you could look at your side and think about what different moves you could make. Because if you change your side, the person on the other side is going to change eventually.
They have
Because they
to.
can't not.
Yeah.
Because
Like
you're
spokes on a
two wheels
bicycle.
and a bicycle.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
Awesome. Right, let's wrap this
Alrighty.
up right there.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.
Love each other best you can.
Take care.
That wraps up this week's episode. Join us again next week for another Why Does My Partner?
We hope that you continue to listen wherever you get your audio and that you'll follow the show.
To go deeper, join us at our boot camp. You'll find the next date at whydoesmypartner.com.
Did you know you could ask us your question?
Your questions are relational gold.
Go to whydoesmypartner.com to either write in or record your question for a future episode.